Yeah, and there was a gate in Jerusalem called the Eye of the Needle.
Yes.
They would use it at night when all the other bigger gates were closed. And if someone was traveling and they got there at night, but they still wanted to get in, they had to go through this gate. But it wasn't very big. And the only way a camel could get through is you had to take off all of his load,
Exactly.
which was a problem because they were usually loaded down quite a bit. And then he'd have to basically crawl through to get through. And that's the only way he could get through. So he's actually talking about not like a needle that you sew with, but he's talking about something they would understand in their day. And I mean, it's very hard for that camel to go through that. But he could do it. He couldn't get through a sewing needle, but he could get through that gate. And the people are just like, well, who can be saved? And Jesus said, the things which are impossible with men are possible with God.
That's right.
It is possible with God. It was possible for someone like that to enter into heaven. I think of the other leader, and we were looking at in Mark, where he comes to Jesus and he's like, what do we do to turn or what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus is like, love God, love your neighbor. And he answers them, and he's like, you're right, because that's more important than all burnt offering and sacrifices. And Jesus is like, oh, you're right there. You're almost there to the kingdom of heaven, and never makes that last step. And here's the hard thing with the kingdom of heaven. Here's the hard thing with storing up treasures, not in this world, but in the world to come. Well, you don't see them, for one. It takes sacrifice, for another. And most people around you aren't interested in that. And so it's hard sometimes to do that. But man, wouldn't you want to enter into kingdom heaven rich? Wouldn't you want to leave this world wealthy? And some people will say, well, no, why do I need riches in heaven? I'll just take a shack on the side. Don't you understand all that Jesus did for us?
Yes.
That we would have an opportunity to enter into heaven with riches that we could then lay at his feet and as a thank you? Something small. I mean, I don't care if it's mountains of gold. It's something small compared to what he did for us. Why not store up for yourself treasures in heaven? It's not all about you. That's not a selfish thing. That's something you're going to have to be able to lay at Jesus' feet. That's the way I like to look at it.
That is.